Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Paul Trani here. Thank you for that. Sorry about the double intro, Michelle. Good to see you here, everyone. We're going to be doing some portraits. So I got to fix my hair. But I'm so happy to be hosting this week's Photoshop challenge. It's going to be a lot of fun, as you can see below me. So thank you so much for that, Michelle. Awesome. Sam's in the house. Krishna, hello. Wherever you're joining me from Facebook and everywhere. Tim Loomis, what's up? Yeah, good to have you here, Clarissa. This is going to be a lot of fun. I love it when I get to do Photoshop challenges. It's going to be a blast. I think today is going to be one of those where, like, even if you think you know Photoshop, do you know Photoshop? Like, these are the fundamentals of photo editing. Oh, yeah, you are too kind, Paco. I see you say that. I do have bad hair days. It's sticking up right there, and it's bothering me, especially since we're doing portraits. It's kind of like, you know, it's kind of like what is it, portrait day at school, like photo day where you get all dressed up. That's what today is. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over. You can also notice, you can see below me, you can get the starter files, which is exactly what I'm going to point out right now. As I switch over, here we are. So wherever you may be, just hop over to behance.net/Adobe Live. And you can see right down here, you want to get the starter files here, share your work through Discord, find more challenges, a bunch of good stuff, basically. This starter file is just a photo that you can see right here of this lady that I got off of Adobe stock, and then one of me that I took a little bit ago. But really the goal is to use your own photo, and we're going to do some photo cleanup, right? We could all use a little cleanup, you know? Even when you think you're all squared away and you're ready for photos, yeah, there's some issues with it. But yeah, so I think I will work on this one. And yeah, a little alfalfa there. Old school. Not many people will get that reference, alfalfa. Carol, I'm glad you threw that in there. But nonetheless, I do want to point this out, and I usually will point this out. I have these various layers since I am starting out in this Photoshop challenge. These are the layers that I'm just turning on and turning off. I have this one here, obviously, that I'm going to work on. But you could also take a photo directly from good old Photoshop. Go to Import from Photo from iPhone or iPad. So I can go to Take Photo, right? And what it's doing is it launches the camera, as you can see right here, right? That's what it's doing, launching the camera. So I can go ahead and take a photo if I want to right now. All right, let's use that photo. Bam, there's the one I just took, right? So I show this often, I guess, usually when I kick off, anytime I do any sort of like profile pic type lesson, I'll usually show that. Because again, look at how tired I look. Sometimes I don't sleep that well. But again, there I normally am, and here I am kind of cleaned up. This one already looks much better. So anyways, take a photo of yourself, right? Clean it up, and then we'll share it with the rest of the world, okay? So I'm going to start with this one, because that's the demo file I've given you, and you should have had time to download it now, and we'll just kind of go in and we'll do some cleanup, okay? And I'm so glad you guys are here. So when you do cleanup, by the way, a lot of times we'll go over here off to the side. Like, we'll start to look at some of these first tools down here at the bottom. I scroll down. See this Band-Aid, which totally works out. Totally love to use the Band-Aid. Some people will start stamping away. And some people will say, oh, you should duplicate this layer. What's the shortcut for duplicate? Command-J to jump the layer. So some people will work on this layer. Yeah, you could do that if you want. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make a new layer, because anytime you use a tool over here, and in your options bar, these are all the options you get for that tool, but off right over here, sample all layers. Just turn that on. That means you could work on a separate layer above everything else. So just turn that sample all layers on, and then you can get to work cleaning up this photo. All right. Let's kind of jump in. We can kind of see some issues like, oh, I got like like a little blemish right there, right? And the goal is to remove anything that would be gone in like 2 weeks, right? So right in here, we will use still that spot healing brush right over here. And these are most of our healing tools that we'll use. Or just drag it down to the duplicate button. Thank you. Yes, good call. So we control the brush size with the open and closing bracket. Open bracket will make it smaller. Closing bracket will make it larger. But we make it the size of the area that we're working on, and then we'll just click. And it will sample from the areas around it. And that's the fastest way to do cleanup. So you go in, oh, I get a little like real redness there. Just like not looking too good. What is that? Let's get rid of that. What is that? Dust? I don't know. You know, you can click, you can draw, you get the idea. And what's happening to my layer, as you can see that it's adding all those spots onto this individual layer, which is what I like. So again, like, what is that, dust? Would I get rid of this awesome scar? No, I had this custom made on my face, right? I had it surgically applied. I had to go to a surgeon and have them apply it. Just kidding. But anyways, I've had that pretty much my whole life. I even have this scar right here on my forehead there. So we want to keep those where they are and just clean up other parts, right? This is one way of doing things, right? We call a lot of this dust, right? We have, you know, this little spot, like that's kind of, you know, anything you want to remove. It's like, okay, I could have cleaned up my neck a little bit better, but you see the magic of just using this lovely little stamp tool, the spot healing brush tool. Okay, so yeah, that's one way I'd start. So if we turn this off, we can see all the spots that it added. So this works out great. Boom, there it is, done. Did such a great job. Okay, let me show you another way of stamping out things. And we need to brighten up the eyes. We need to do so many things. But before I do that really fast, here's another thing that I would do. If you're working on portraits, and again, I know Terry White does a lot of portraits as well. Like my eyes, look at how, you know, they're always a little bit red, right? So I will use some additional tools like the sponge tool. You will find tools that are not going to have the ability to work above all layers, right? You don't have an all layers checkbox. But we will jump in and we'll just desaturate this really fast. Some parts of my eyes, just click and drag, and we can kind of remove that. And this might be a case where, you know, I want to duplicate a layer so I have the original just to compare it to the original. But we could do a desaturate. This is destructive, by the way, right? So that usually happens. Like, let's turn that off. Here it is before, here it is after. Might be kind of hard to tell. Before, after, right? So we just kind of get rid of that. Okay, cool. Okay, down with the redness. Bloodshot eyes. Let's take this to the next level, because what do we want to do? I know Sam Peterson knows this, Reverb Mike. We want to actually use Camera Raw filter, which is right up here, right? Camera Raw filter. Before I do that, I want to select both of these layers, and I'm going to convert them to a smart object, right? Yeah, the sponge tool is great. And key, by the way, the sponge tool will allow you to saturate or desaturate pixels. It is a destructive process, but if you need to just go in and just do some little desaturation or saturation, go for it. Okay, we're going to convert this to smart object. This is going to be new, Paul. There we are. So now that this is a smart object, I can go to filter, down to camera raw filter. Camera raw filter is very much like your, kind of like your Lightroom within Photoshop, which I think is awesome. Okay. You could do hue saturation clipped if you want to do that. Yeah, if you want to work non-destructive. Thank you, Frank. Thank you so much. Yeah, so for little things that I just know I'm not going to need to bring back the color for it, I'm like, I will just do it destructively. You know, but yes, to your point, definitely you can do that. So right in here, we get all these lovely tools in here, and I wanted to kind of still do some stamping out. And sure enough, right in here, we also have a Band-Aid. Let's look at the difference between these two. As I select this, this is still going to be the spot removal tool. If I go in here, like let's remove this little dot, right? Bink. When we do that, it shows me that it actually samples from this area. So I can control the sample point, like sample from over here, and put it there. Right, this gets to be pretty handy. especially maybe even like this spot. And keep in mind, you could do other things. Like, let me just do a click and drag. Let me undo that. Let's just do a click and drag, because I got like smashed my lip thanks to a racket, playing racquetball. It sampled from down here. That's not what I want. I want to go over here and say, hey, you know what? Sample from this part of my lip and patch it right there. So that's going to give you the control that you want. I usually click on another tool. See how much cleaner that looks, right? I have control of where it's sampling. And I can kind of move that around, do all sorts of things with. So again, pretty fancy stuff. Right on. So this just gives you so much control as you go in here. Like, yeah, I probably need to clean up my eyebrows. Yeah, let's clean that up. Don't sample from over there. Sample just from right over here. You get the idea, right? We do a little cleanup. You get the idea. We won't do too much damage, right? So if you do too much editing, it's going to look fake, right? It's like nobody has perfect skin, right? But I want to do a couple things in here. I want to do some brightening of the eyes. We tried to brighten the eyes by doing a desaturate to get rid of the redness, right? So that kind of helps. But we need to make the eyes pop a little bit more. I absolutely love this, and hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm going to go right over here, and I'm actually going to select a Radial Gradient, okay? Right there. And we'll just draw out this little radial gradient for my eye. We can move that around. We'll put it right there, okay? We can see we can't quite really tell the adjustments we're going to make, so we'll turn off that show overlay. And now you can see I can increase the exposure or darken it. So lighten or darken it. I'm doing extreme versions of this, but all I would do is just increase the exposure a touch. Just a touch, right, to get it to look right. So again, that's how it is before. You can see it just brightens up the eyes just a little bit, right? Let's create another mask. We'll do these like independently, because this one I might want to brighten up a little less or a little more, kind of depending. Oops. Exposure. So that's what I do to kind of like brighten eyes, because they can kind of be hidden in the shadows, right? But you can see how that works right there. Cool. Make the eyes, make them pop. Make those eyes pop, huh? So there they are. They're popping a little bit more, right? Not too much. You can get into color, all sorts of things. I think this is looking pretty good. We're trying to keep it. Yes, the hangover removal tool is kind of what we're doing, is desaturating those eyes and all that good stuff. Another thing you could also do, you could do your global edits. So I also like to do these. Again, I can take a look at this and say, hey, you know what? Should the whole thing be brighter or darker? Who knows? Do I play with all of these sliders, or do I just go up right here? And personally, I will typically start with a button that says auto. Say, hey, you know what? Do your thing. Give me something. Bam. Click to auto. It does brighten up the whole image. But more importantly, or more specifically, we can see they increase the exposure, contrast, shadows, whites, things like that. And again, I can say, well, maybe don't make it that intense. Bring it down and adjust accordingly. But I think this is always like a good place to start when it comes to, editing your profile pic. Okay. You don't have to turn off the overlay as soon as you adjust. Yes. Okay, as soon as you adjust, the overlay disappears. Okay, thank you, Sean. Thank you for that. That was a pro tip from Sean. Thank you so much. I know you do more photography than I do. Okay, so let's take a look at this now. Now, people will come in here and they'll be like, oh, the skin, it has too much texture, right? There might be too much texture. Like, this is how you look old. Like, look at all this texture that I've added. People usually want to get rid of that. They want to smooth it out. Hey, Andrew, I see you there. I got your message, and we'll be in touch. But yes, I will help you out. So, people will drag the texture to the left. This looks so fake. This is what we don't want to do when it comes to editing, by the way. Right? We don't want to really take this texture and do something crazy like that. That looks so fake. Come on, this isn't, what is it, like glamour shots? Is it glamour shots? I don't know. Or people will take down the clarity too. Like these are two sliders that you typically, at least in my opinion, you don't really want to mess with, right? I just kind of leave them alone, right? If anything, you can add a little bit of texture, right? But I want to show you how to smooth skin. That's just going to work out better than these sliders. Okay. In fact, I will take up the texture a little bit just because I think it looks better. It looks a little bit more sharp that way, you know, and I kind of like it. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go to filter. And again, I have 10 minutes. Again, we've been in Camera Raw. That's all of our cleanup that we're doing. I want to do 2 more, but I'm going to go into neural filters now. Neural filters will be an intelligent way to clean up a photo. So we'll go right over here. Sure enough, skin smoothing. Turn on skin smoothing. You can see what it does. Yes, it does add that blur, right? But it doesn't blur the eyes or anything like that. We can always take that down. See how the skin still has some texture? Isn't that great? It's smoothed out the skin, but it still has texture, and it's blowing my mind, right? Again, super cool what we could do with skin smoothing. Again, just kind of taking down that smoothness. You could even take down, if you take down the smoothness, obviously here kind of seems to add a little bit more texture as well. But I think that's like pretty darn impressive what you can do with skin smoothing. It's pretty awesome. You know, we got to keep my pores. That's the thing. What are you trying to do? I'm not made of plastic. We have pores. Let's keep them. If you did want to get into Smart Portrait, you can, by the way. You can jump into Smart Portrait, give yourself a little bit more of a smile, less of a smile, change expression, all that fun stuff. That's just fun to do. It's processing in the cloud, which is why I'm going to take a drink of my coffee. Oh, that's some good creme brulee. All right, so I give myself, there we go, like a little bit. That's not honestly really, I kind of don't smile like that. So here's a case where I'm like, you know what? No, let's not use the Smart Portrait. Let's just go with skin smoothing. Last thing we want to do right down here is make sure this is turned on Smart Filter, right? Not on a new layer, but we'll click OK. Did it add it? Okay, there we go. So there we are. Look at these edits, sort of the beginning and the after. Look at how I love that I've added a little bit of that sharpening, that texture looks so good. And keep in mind, you could always go in and edit parts of this. So if you decide you want to double click, you can double click inside of that smart object. Let me do that again, since this is my very first Photoshop challenge, so people might be seeing this for the first time, but just double click because this is technically a different PSD file. You double click on it, bam, and now we're inside of it. And here are all my little edits, by the way, right over here. See where I did all that stamping and all that stuff? I'm going to create a new layer because this is the last little touch up I want to do, aside from one other thing. I got 2 more things to show actually. But under the eyes, how do we fix this? You know, do you want to like soften that? Do you? I don't know. Do you want to make it look like you got 8 hours of sleep? That's where I jump in and get into, say, the patch tool. Okay, you ready for this? Patch tool is awesome because it allows you to define an area and kind of like what we did with Camera Raw, saying, hey, you know, this is what I want to patch, but patch it from down here. Let me control where that patch is coming from. Boom. And put it up there. I know it looks a little extreme right now. We're going to fix it in a second, but just use the patch tool and you can easily kind of define that area, paste it up there. And two things you might want to play with when it comes to the patch tool is the structure, how much of that, I don't know if it's like the detail of what you're sampling are you grabbing, and then the color as well. How much of the color are you keeping of the dark circles under my eyes? So mine is set to 5 and then 2. And notice how it's also set to sample all layers. What does that mean? Well, it means that I actually was able to work on this separate layer. And now we have, you know, under eyes. Okay, and again, this is too extreme. We want to take that down. Take down that opacity a lot. Again, we're kind of getting rid of the color. That's typically what I would do, is just like lighten it up a little bit, but I would advise you, like, don't really want to get rid of those wrinkles because technically those wrinkles are still going to be there in 2 weeks. They just might not be, my circles might not be as dark, right? So there you go. Looks good. Again, before, after, before, after. You guys seeing that? Just keeping it subtle. We got to keep our realness. You know, I didn't even get into like the whole concept of, say, your profile picture. Like, what are you trying to say with your profile picture? You know, are you going for happiness? You're trying to be happy, genuine, authentic. That's what I'm going for. I'm not crazy about the actual photo, but you know, because my smile seems a little fake, if you ask me. Okay, you ready for this? And by the way, how this photo was taken, I could actually turn around and maybe show you that. If I could. Maybe I will have to do that later. But let me see if I can show you just like the lighting used. I don't know. Nobody even asked, by the way. But here's the lighting that I used. Let me move this around. Bingo. So one light above, so you get those shadows underneath my nose. And then you kind of wash out, you kind of get rid of the shadows on the side with additional lights. I varied with the brightness of these two lights on the outside, but mainly it's that big one that I used to take the photo. All right, we did it. Last thing I'm going to show you guys. You guys ready for this? Good, I'm so glad I have time. Filter, two more things. I'm so sorry. Liquify. Let's jump into Liquify really fast because I have a tendency to have one eye. Maybe one eye's like half closed. Maybe it's more lights hitting it. Guess what? Let's have it recognize that face. And now we can see, oh, it's recognizing the face. Okay, now we can open up this eye just a touch more to maybe make it a little more equal to the other one. Right, so that's all I did. It's just a simple tweak. You guys can go just nuts on this, by the way, if you cared to. Right, you can just grab any of these, like, here's winter Paul, here's summer Paul, right? You get the idea. But yeah, you can actually recognize these parts of the face and you can have some crazy fun there. But all I'm going to do is just apply this. Looks like I moved my nose down a little bit, but we got it done. So now what are we going to do? We're going to go ahead and share this because this is all about photo editing and sharing. We're going to save this as a document cloud file, a PSDC. So portrait, like so. Saving it. Might want to make it a little bit smaller. Who knows? Now that it's saved in the cloud, I have the ability to edit it. And what's awesome about this, by the way, is like I'm not publishing a JPEG that's disconnected from the PSD, right? I don't have to, oh, what JPEG was that? And go find the PSD for that made the JPEG. No, they're actually looking at the PSD, and that's exactly the one I'm going to edit. I'm going to jump in here. I'll hit change. I will turn this on to anyone with the link can view this and comment on it. Because maybe I want to get other people's opinions, right? Copy link before I post it to my profile and I get an onslaught of everybody just ripping me to shreds because I over edited it or something. Who knows? But there's that link. I'll actually paste that in chat. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. So everybody actually is able to comment on it. If I could paste that in there. Shabam. Yeah, thank you. So Tim Lewis said that soft boxes are really helpful when it comes to the lighting. Otherwise, you end up with these really shiny points like I have right now. Like, that's just, my skin's always a little bit oily. But here it is. Yeah, it's available for you to comment, and people can come in. Because one thing you might have noticed, the shallow depth of field made my nose blurrier. So one of the comments might be right here. This seems blurry. And I know exactly what part they're talking about, which is my nose. Bingo, like so. Okay. So again, that's the idea. I didn't get into getting more artistic with this, but that's going to happen on Friday, which is going to be really fun. So that's later on this week where we just get to go crazy and have a lot of fun. And they're coming in. What is this? Oh, I want those. Sean says I want those. These pillows. You got it. You can have them. They're just going to stay at my house. So if you want to use them, you can come over. You can come over and take a nap. All right. Yeah, thumbs up. You guys get the idea. Add vignette. Great ideas. all stuff that I would do. But it's cool that I don't have to hunt down this particular file. Like, it's literally this one right here, and I can add a vignette or do whatever else I want to do. And I would even actually do that using Camera Raw filter. But that's my time, folks. Thank you so much. Tune in tomorrow. Make sure you post that stuff to Discord below as well. That's where you can show me what you're working on and show me your lovely face. I think you guys are all beautiful. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I'm so happy I get to hang out with you tomorrow as well. So thanks so much, and we will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching.